Yesterday we went over, actually we went over the product, the power rule, and the quotient rule a little bit. So, multiplication, we add the exponents, and division, we subtract. So the opposite of multiplication is division, and the opposite of adding is subtracting. And so x squared over x squared, 2 minus 2 is 0, and so that ends up canceling out. So take this one, it has 4 to the 8th over 4 to the 5th. Do 4 to the 8th over 4 to the 6th. That way we can do it in our head. What is 8 minus 6? 2. So this should equal 4 squared. So in your calculator, do 4 to the 8th over 4 to the 6th. And what is 4 squared? 4 times 4 is 16. So you should get 16. So 4 to the 8th divided by 4 to the 6th. So move over. Hit divide. And 4 over 6. And that's just proving that division you subtract. And so our negative exponents we talked about yesterday. If it is negative on top, then you move it to the bottom. So the only thing that we didn't speak on the negative exponents is that if it is negative on top, so if we have, say, x to the negative 3, and then we have x squared on the bottom. So if it is negative on top and we move it to the bottom, you have to add it to what is already there. So if we add 3 to the bottom, how many x's are we going to have? 2 plus 3 is 5. So x to the 5th on the bottom. And so we would have just a 1 on top. So if it's negative on the top, you move it to the bottom, it turns positive. If there's x's already there, you have to add to it. Okay? So number 1 is just division. So what is, again, each number and each letter is a separate problem. So think of them separately. So what is negative 30 divided by 10? So when you divide by 10, you cancel out a 0. So what do we get? Negative 3. Okay? And then you have into the third over into the fourth. And here is the expanded version of that. You can write it down or just watch. So if you have into the third is 3 n's over into the fourth, which is 4 n's, what happens to 3 of them? They cancel out. And so we have 1 n left on the bottom. So you do 4 minus 3 is 1, and I asked the question where, and the answer would be on the bottom. And x to the 5th, does x to the 5th change? No, because it has no friends. There's no other x, so it doesn't change. It stays where it's at. Okay. Number 2. So 24 over 54 reduces to what? Turn your calculators on. Alpha x. 4 nines. Everybody know how to get it? So 4 over 9. Okay. Are we done? No. Okay. Does it matter which letter we start with? No, not really. Typically you do them in alphabetical order, but it really doesn't matter because you'd still be able to match it. So we'll start with the H. So we have 2 on the top and 3 on the bottom. So if we subtract, what is 3 minus 2? 1. Where? And the where is where do you have the most?
Bottom.
on the bottom. So you have the most h's on the bottom, so that's where it's going to end up. So h is on the bottom. X's. What happens to my x's?
They cancel each other.
They cancel each other out. So when you have the same on the top as the bottom, they cancel out. So it's gone. And yellow, can't see it all. Number 3. 12 over 24 reduces to what? 1/2. So the 1 you can put, or we can wait and see if something else ends up there. If nothing ends up there, then we need the 1. So the -5 into the -5. So where are we gonna, if it's negative on top, where do we need to move it? To the bottom. So when we move it to the bottom, we're gonna add it to what is already there. So how many n's are already there? 1. So even though n doesn't have an exponent, the exponent is 1. And what is 1 plus 5? 6. N to the 6. Okay, and you're going to do the same thing with the x. Let me give you a minute. Do the exact same thing. Except you're not going to go down, you're going to go up. So we're going to have x to the what and where? To the 4th. 1 plus 3 is 4. So, an x to the 4th on top. And so if you put the 1, that's fine. It's not needed. Okay, number 4. -18 over 15. What is the greatest common factor for 18 over 15? What's the largest number that can go in both? 3. Very good. 3. So 18 divided by 3 is 6, and 15 divided by 3 is 5, and they are negative. So reducing is handy in the calculator, but try to reduce in your head and check it with the calculator. That will keep the greatest common factor fresh in your brain. Okay, so when both of them are negative, which one is going to be the larger number when you change it to a positive?
5.
The 5. So you're going to move that one up, and you're going to do -4 plus 5, which is 1. So that'll be just P. And what are we going to do with the W? Move the -1 up or move the -3 down? Down. So the opposite of a -3 is a +3, and 3 minus 1 is 2. So W squared. Okay, let me give you a minute. Do number 5. Okay, so what is 9 divided by 3? 3. And what happens to the K? Cancels out. Do the P's cancel also? No, but yes is the most common wrong answer. That's why I put this one on here. So, even though they're the same number, they're both not negative or both not positive. So, it doesn't cancel out. So, the -2 is going to move to the top, and you're going to add it to the top. So 2 plus 2 is 4. So you're going to have P to the 4th. And So the notes that printed out were easy, and these were the type of problems that was spitting out. So they were much harder. So I changed our notes. So -4 over 12. So 4 is our greatest common factor, so it's going to be negative. And it looks like I'm going to need that 1. So 4 goes into 12 how many times? 3. And we have n to the -4. It's kind of scooted over there a little bit. So the -4 goes to the top, and I can actually change that 1 to an n. So it's going to be n to the what? 5. You have 1 on top, and you're adding 4 more. So 1 plus 4 is 5. And h to the what and where? So which one's going to be larger when I change it to a positive? The larger 5, correct? So what is -1 plus 5? 4.